Mike, we would really like to know which is the essence, I mean the real meaning of your work.
Okay, that's a big question to start with. That just about covers the whole of my life, but nevertheless, we can try. The real meaning of what I'm trying to achieve is to get at the difference between the reality of spirituality as a felt sense and what it has so often become, which is a conceptualization from the thinking brain about spirituality. Yeah, something like that, and that's what I'm trying to work with, so that becomes real to the people concerned. A lot of teaching is talking about something, and we can talk about something forever, and it remains up here, never gets grounded. In fact, it sometimes even takes off and goes up into the skies. The reality is what you feel it to be. Okay.
And how did you get to that work? Which was your path to that work?
I got there the hard way. I got there the hard way by facing my own problems, my own insecurities, my own, insecurities. And eventually I realized that trying to bury them was no solution. They came back and hit me in another form, usually when I didn't expect them, and certainly when I didn't want them. I realized I had to sit still and be with whatever was coming up for me, and digest it fully. Out of that digestion I would get value, and then what was not valuable I could let it go.
So Mike, you offer some seminars, and the first of those seminars is called The Blessing of Insecurity. Would you please explain your point about insecurity?
Let's start by maybe looking at the opposite, security. What is security? Security lies in familiarity, in knowing where I am, knowing what I'm doing, knowing who I am. That's security. Because I know, there's an implication that I've been there before. So security is actually, in essence, going round in circles like a 78 gramophone record that gets a bit stuck and it goes and one's life becomes reactive. However, insecurity, I beg your pardon, although we may not welcome it, is always alive. It is there on the edge. It's the edge of the razor blade. I'm not quite sure which side I'm going to fall down. I'm not sure what I'm going to be doing tomorrow, the next day, 10 years' time, even in the next minute. I am alive, I'm awake, I am here right now. So all expansion of awareness, which is what we're talking about, can only be into insecurity, because I haven't been there before. That's the nature of expansion. I'm going to a place that I haven't been. So the blessing of insecurity is in fact the gateway, the doorway. That insecurity is the doorway through which one passes to an expansion of awareness and knowledge. That makes it a blessing.
We often see spirituality as something beyond us, something outside there.
Yeah.
In your view, in your work, there is a difference. I mean that spirituality is something or in the body.
Yeah, sure.
So would you please expand that?
Yes, spirituality is often seen something that we have to achieve, something we have to aspire to, something that after years and years of hard work we may begin to get a glimpse of, maybe even 20 or 30 lifetimes, we may get some little smell of what is spirituality. I don't see it at all that way. I see all human beings as being complete in themselves. Waking up to that completeness is our task. How do we wake up to our completeness? By expanding our awareness through jolly hard work sometimes, expanding our awareness so that we start realizing what we are doing ourselves in the way of habituations, the way we respond to the world in a reactive way, so that we can see what we're doing. And from expanding the awareness of what we are doing, we can then see what it is that we need to surrender. Because if we can surrender the things that are in the way, we will discover that in essence, we are all enlightened. That is my thesis, and I'm working at it. I just want to add a little more to what I've just said. Try and explain it better. What I am saying is that in my opinion, we are all perfect. What gets in the way of the realization of that is what I've come to call undigested life experiences. Somebody tells me I'm stupid when I'm 2 years old, and so I take on board that I am stupid. It is not inherent in my being. I take it on board, and I don't, at 2 years old, have the capacity to let it go. So that is engraved in my psyche, that I'm stupid. This is just one example, but it's what I mean by undigested life experience. So from then onwards throughout our lives, we are being reactive to that hump that we're carrying around on our back like a piece of luggage which says we're stupid.
As I'm hearing you saying that, I'm feeling like as if in your seminar one could find a gentle space where to stay within insecurity and while exploring that. Is that?
Yes. In this work, which tends to be quite a deep level work, it is very important that there is, if not internal security, because one is exploring edges of things, we need to be safely held. We need to be in a space which encourages us to explore, to touch our edges, to expand our boundaries. If we're feeling under threat and we are being attacked by somebody who is trying to make us wake up, make us expand, there will of course be an equal and opposite reaction, and we will tend to contract. If one can establish a caring, a loving environment in which the student can be held, they are prepared to gradually expand themselves into difficult areas. They are more and more heard and accepted and not judged, and so it goes on.
Mike, is the or can be the experience you offer be useful for every kind of person in every moment of one's life?
Sure, of course. We have started as a group. We've been brought together basically by a therapeutic modality. But I'm not talking about how to do therapeutic modalities. I'm much more talking about where I come from in myself when I'm doing whatever my profession, my job, my way of life, whatever it is. I would like to say that I think a spiritual life can and should be the ordinary life. And the life that most of us live most of the time is the pathological one, which makes the life we lead, the pathological life, is not what ordinary should be. So in our attempts to be different from each other, in order to be better than each other, and in some cases I have to say, our attempts to be worse than each other if we are highly depressed, we lose our communality, our ordinariness. Ever since we develop an ego, and that is symbolized beautifully in the story of Adam and Eve, where Eve bit this apple and realized she was separate. She realized she was separate from Adam. She realized she was separate from God. That, to me, is a portrayal of the beginning of ego. Ever since then, we've been totally hung up on maintaining our differentness. That is the function of the ego. The ego's main function is to be different. Me, ego, I. That is what it does. So we keep on bolstering and reinforcing that ego. We're actually all human beings. And in our depths of us, we are actually all, as I said before, totally perfect. The secret is to come into the awareness of that by becoming naked and dropping the seven veils of delusion, of thinking we're something else.
Mike, I am a therapist and I'm wondering how communicate the essence of your work to my clients during my practice.
It is difficult sometimes, and it needs to be appropriate. Let me just talk around this a little bit. The way we relate to our clients needs to have some appropriateness about it. If they're coming along to us with, say, I sometimes quote, a dislocated little finger, they are not looking for a metaphysical answer. They are not looking for a course in meditation. What they're looking for is somebody to grab hold of their finger, pull it out, and put it back again. So it needs to be appropriate. How do I tell my client? Where you have a client where it is appropriate, or where you find yourselves working at a very deep level with them when you're entering into mysteries, the fact that you are at that level probably means that that level can be talked about. I believe that makes sense. If you found yourself working at a very deep level with somebody, then there's an implication there somehow that at some level at least they are working at a deep level, and that can be discussed at that level. There cannot be a mechanical answer to or shall we say, there cannot, in my opinion, be an intellectual answer to a spiritual question. They're different planes. When that happens to me, and somebody says, Mike, for example, somebody said, Mike, that was extraordinarily deep. What happened? I will tell the truth. I'll say, I don't know. And I do not know. It hasn't come into my analysis. I don't know. I can't quantify, qualify, put it in packets. I can only say that from my point of view, it felt as though something important was going on, that there was some intelligence at work. Sooner or later, it will reveal itself, and we will know what was happening. The other important thing I need to say to you, thank you for asking me that question, but what was your sense of what was going on? That, of course, is the most important thing here. Not what I thought was going on, but what you experienced going on. That is the felt sense. Let's have a look at that. Do you have any way of describing it?
Is there any way people can have a kind of taste of your work before before coming to one of your seminars, just so that they can have a taste of that?
Yeah. Okay, I'm often asked this question, and people for years have been trying to get me to write a book or write books. They say to me, looking me square in the face, you're not going to be with us for very long. That makes me feel great. They must know something that I haven't quite come to a conclusion about yet. So I resisted for years, and I've been going on resisting writing a book. Why? For the simple reason that this kind of work that we're talking about, unlike mechanical work, is never stationary, it's never finished, it's never done, it's not fixed. Everything in living nature is change, it's always changing. And this work is changing, and people are changing, and their perceptions are changing. And it just feels uncomfortable to me to write something down and put a beginning and end and two pieces of cardboard on either side, and it kind of fixes it. Takes out the expansion and contraction, which is what is really going on. So I've been resisting, and my resistance has finally been broken. The weight of numbers upon my back is too heavy, so I'm writing a book. Finally. I'm actually, I think, writing two books. I'm writing a book called Conversations in Stillness, and I'm hoping, when that is finished, to write a second one called The Empty Chair. I love that title, The Empty Chair. It speaks of the teaching, not the teacher. It focuses on the teaching going out from the empty chair, whoever is sitting in it. And then, should I stay alive for long enough and not have galloping Alzheimer's, I'm hoping to write a third book, which could be called The Bliss of Being Ordinary, which is the culmination for me of all spiritual work. You build up this build up this spiritual energy, and then you start developing a small halo which turns into a big halo, and then you sprout wings, and then you become fully enlightened, and then you think, oh shit, I think I better let go of all this rubbish, and you become ordinary.